A, giving it to God's anchored on something beyond myself. And early on in the 12 steps is approaching those we have wronged and expressing our contrition for how my poor judgment impacted your life. A radical reorientation of self. This is a comprehensive thing. It's not a random, symbolic, token stab, after which we can go back and do what we did before. That's not repentance. So this idea of bishagaga, everyone to the Hebrew readers, follow along with me here. V'yedaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, right in the middle of the line. Daber el bnei Yisrael lemor, tell the Israelites, saying, nefesh, a soul. It uses this term interchangeably in Leviticus for an individual, for a person. Nefesh ki techeta, who sins, bishagaga. Shagag is a mistake, an error. Shagaga is the abstract noun, and bishagaga is the adverb. Listen for it on Yom Kippur. Now, we're not even at Passover yet, but listen for it on Yom Kippur. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha bishagaga. For those sins which we sinned against you inadvertently, didn't even realize you have to yield to oncoming traffic. I didn't realize. We know not to eat pork, but I didn't realize that applies to baby back ribs because they come from a pig too. Who knew? I knew pork. Why not bacon? Oh, also from a pig. What a concept. What? You don't eat no meat? All right, we'll serve lamb. Just having that discussion over breakfast at clergy as well today. Meatless Friday used to serve fish. Prior to the Second Vatican Council, when they dismissed that practice, since Jews don't eat meat on the day of a funeral, right? Yeah, Jews don't eat meat. Some people say not at all in the house of mourning, but certainly not the first day following the funeral. Forget all those cold cut platters. They were flexible. Around here, somebody dies before you call the mortuary, call 2 J's and have them send over cold cuts. The Suda Havraya, the meal of condolence, traditionally consists of lentils and or hard-boiled eggs, and bread and a beverage. It's not a full meal. I can't count the time. I wish I had $1 for your building fund to pay off the mortgage for every time I've gone into a condo after a funeral. I'm always the last one in because I stay still in the grave. Stop by the house, and one of the condo grannies comes up chomping on something. Rabbi, can I make you a plate? Besides the fact that it's the nadir of poor taste to be eating in the Shiva house if you're not wearing a kriya ribbon, there's the simple fact that traditionally Jews don't eat meat at the meal of condolence. You just can.
Never.
This is what you keep me around for, to tell you irrelevant stuff that nobody knew about or wants to hear. I did my Yom Kippur sermon a few years ago about how we do everything wrong following a funeral, and people actively blew me off, including somebody whose mother's funeral was the following week. Said, I know what you said, Rabbi, and I get it, but we're doing this anyway.
Well, you know, Rabbi.
Let me finish. Don't lose it. Don't you dare lose it. We do not eat meat following a funeral on that day, and therefore, the Roman Catholic / Christian, because until the 16th century you were Christian, there was no subdivision. Christians, therefore, without realizing they were emulating Jewish practice, would not eat meat on Friday because that's the day Jesus was tortured, executed, and consigned to the tomb. You're after a funeral. So what did they do? Since the first Christians were all Jews, all those Jewish mothers, God forbid you should go all day without protein on a meatless day, so they put out fish. Going to public schools in the 50s, prior to the Second Vatican Council, but when most Catholics were no longer living in their diocesan parish in a big city, but off in the burbs with everyone else going to public schools, the cafeteria always served fish sticks on Friday.
Always.
Because the Catholic kids, being mainstream, couldn't eat meat, and they wanted to make sure they had a solid meal. So, we're convoluted and running around the mulberry bush. The assumption is that things we do have a framework and a context, and that we're aware of it. It used to be eating meat on Friday, while it was a very low level of sin, was nonetheless a transgression for a Christian of faith, because it showed I'm not really grieving Jesus was consigned to the tomb, living that cycle where every week is Holy Week. Through error, I didn't realize you have to yield to oncoming traffic. I didn't realize we don't eat that. I didn't realize we do that and I neglected it. Bishigaga. The operative part of this caption is the adverb. Yes, ma'am, thanks for holding on, Bobby. What have you got?
Recently, I heard a commercial from the kosher meal